Welcome back to my channel by Sword and Musket. Here we are back in the bunker again. And today we're going to look at America's answer to the threat of the German sniper in the trenches. The standard rifle that the American infantryman or doughboy was carrying is the bolt-action .3006, or as the Americans like to say, 30-06 Springfield rifle. This is an example that is pretty darn close to the time. It is a standard bolt-action, stripper clip fed, 5-shot internal magazine rifle. This shows all the build and specifications for a World War I rifle, but there is something additional upon it, and let's have a look at that in depth. What is this rail that has been so carefully attached to the sidewall of the action? It's dovetail in section. It is in fact the mounting rail for this Model 1913 Warner Swasey musket sight. This along with the Winchester 5A tubular telescopic sight was America's answer to the German sniper in the trenches. I will get it out and show it to you. It fits perfectly in this hard leather case. The case was made by the Diamond D company. You can see it has belt hooks to fit into the webbing, like this example here. So those belt hooks hook into the eyelets. It also has a facility for a carrying strap. Being genuine, unfortunately, the original fixing or closing strap is broken. There is a bizarre and strange looking spanner which fits into this little pocket on the front, and within we have the musket sight. On the side it says telescopic musket sight, model of 1913. It has a serial number 4930, Warner Swasey Musket Company, Cleveland, Ohio, with its patent dates. Now you'll note it's got a large rubber eyepiece to protect the shooter's eye. There are some enormous dials on the outside. All of this obviously designed by a man that's never crept through brambles, barbed wire, or had to deal with mud up to his eye holes. Anyway, for all these apparent shortcomings, the Warner Swasey musket sight received or performed reasonably well in the trenches. That's how it goes on. Simply clips on to the side of the rifle. One of two positions. Now, what are these dials for? Well, the rear dial is windage. That affects movement of the front of the scope on a worm drive about this point where it pivots. This is the distance scale. So that's your elevation scale with a crisform locking nut, and that will physically raise or lower the scope in the conventional way of adjusting sights. The user can take information from the outside of the unit to adjust his fire on the target, of these original plates are quite nice to find still attached. Look, there's a screw missing. This is a genuine piece, but I suspect that the rubber eyepiece is in fact reproduction or replacement. Now these have got a little bit of an amusing tail attached to them, in that eye relief on this scope is actually quite short. It's approximately 1.5 inches, which brings you up to about here. So the soldier using it would have to push his eye quite hard against this large cupped eyepiece, and before they had the idea of puncturing it and putting some holes in it, these things were getting stuck to people's foreheads. So you take the shot, 30-06 has got a decent recoil, and this thing would be stuck to your head like a sink plunger. One of the generals rather wittily commented that it took several strong men to remove it. But I wouldn't like the idea of a suction pad conveniently the size of my orbital eye socket pulled off the front of my face. I'd be worried my eyeball was going to end up on my chin. So that was one of the strange things about the scope. But more about the positive side. The scope was designed to allow the user to still load via the stripper clip and the clip guides in the side. Most over top mounted scopes, that is not possible. It also allowed the user to still use the open sights, which is fairly handy. If you're in a bit of a rush, you can still use your open sights or your battle sight. So there we have it, the 1903 Springfield rifle with Warner and Swasey musket scope. They had reasonable results. They did what they were meant to do, what they were designed for, but they weren't greatly liked. And after the war, the majority of them were disassembled, and the rifles that even have the holes that had been drilled in the side of the receiver blanked off, and they went back into service. So this is an assembled example, but still a very rare thing and a very unusual thing when it comes to anything that we see these days. There's one other quite interesting little footnote. If this had been 100% genuine and had survived the purge of their ultimate disassembly, it would have had the serial number stamped in here. And in the case of the Americans, they literally stamped the words "for rifle number," and then you'd have the serial number. Now that would be easy to fake. And in fact, matching examples are viewed very carefully because it's understood that they were all deassembled. However, if we look on the back of this one, on the underside of this dovetail slide, there is a serial number, and I know not when that was put on, but it's another 6-figure serial number. Could it have been one of the Canadian examples? At the moment, I don't know. So I thought that might interest the sniper devotees, and it certainly is an unusual looking thing. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you'll click like or subscribe, any comments you have or further information. I'm always open to listen to what people have to say or their greater knowledge. Thank you very much, and join me again at Sword and Musket anytime you like.